Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation news fans. This was probably a top 3 experience of my life. My kids being born, that's an experience unto itself. Then playing for Michigan is 2, and the Golden Bachelor is 3. Above playing for the Rams, I ask Mel Owens, the season 2 Golden Bachelor, in a quaint cafe in his hometown of Detroit. He nods. And even to me, this seems high praise. Mel played on the 1980 Big Ten Conference Championship team with my uncle. My dad went on to play for Michigan 10 years later, and as a Michigan graduate myself, I'm well aware of how deep the Michigan connection runs. I met Mel at a football alumni of Michigan tailgate for the Michigan versus Washington game, where he was donning his 1980 championship team gear. I spotted him from across the tent, and he carried an air of confidence about him that screamed both, I played a huge role in that historic season back in 1980, and I'm the Golden Bachelor. I got to hang out with Mel 2 more times that week, once at a watch party for the Hometowns episode of his Golden Bachelor season, and the second time at that cafe in Detroit, where we got to chat a little more in depth about his time both growing up in and playing for Michigan, his experience as the Golden Bachelor, and of course, music. Mel's first round of fame. Given his conference championship-winning career at the University of Michigan, which subsequently led to an 8-year NFL career with the LA Rams, Mel Owens is certainly no stranger to the spotlight. When I was in the NFL, I was really young, and as a first-round draft pick, there's a lot of attention on you. Owens' stellar career at Michigan led to him being selected as the 9th overall pick in the 1981 NFL draft by the LA Rams. There's a lot of scrutiny. They put their first pick on you, so it matters. All eyes are on you, and it's all about if you perform. You have to live up to expectations, and you got to do it for, hopefully, a long period of time because you're the guy they drafted. Fast forward a few decades, and any scrutiny he received in the NFL is no longer much of a factor. His fame died down just a bit, only to be reinvigorated when he was named to be the 2nd ever Golden Bachelor. Mel, the football player, didn't have gray hair, Mel, the Bachelor, has gray hair. He laughed thinking about the comparison between his earlier fame and his newfound fame. If you're lucky enough to go to the University of Michigan, you hit the gold mine. When I'm playing football, I watch it back, and I know when I screw up, so I'll think, okay, here comes a bad play. As any professional is, Owens is definitely critical of himself. When it's unscripted, football or the Golden Bachelor, that's just who you are. So you can train better and execute better. And with the show, you can do that too, but there's no redo. You're going to have another game next week, but I don't get to see how I am on the show until it's all finished. One of the producers of the show was a Michigan alumnus, which helped Owens settle in quite nicely. He's a great guy, and we got along great. He was a Michigan man. That's the connection. It's one of the reasons you go to Michigan. We're worldwide. If you're lucky enough to go to the University of Michigan, you hit the gold mine. He spoke with a true love and passion for the university that shaped him, as well as so many others over the course of its 200-plus-year history. A lot of the opportunities and experiences in my life that have just naturally happened have led to bigger ones, which led to even bigger ones, and it snowballs. And that's how my life has been. It's been charmed. He continued with gratitude. It's not so much that the Golden Bachelor changed my life, or like I went from nothing to something, but it all just compounds. Bachelor Nation saw a new side of the same Mel. The Golden Bachelor is a moniker that's going to be with me forever. Yeah, I'll still be a football player, but I stopped playing football. When you're the Golden Bachelor, you're going to be scrutinized for whatever you do. The public scrutiny, while not entirely new to Mel Owens, is a little different this time around. If you get married again, you get divorced, you never get married, you're girlfriends, that's just how The Bachelor and the Golden Bachelor franchise is. Having played for the University of Michigan, a professional career in the NFL, and growing up in Detroit at the height of Motown, Owens wasn't exaggerating when he said he's been charmed in life. He's been fortunate to have a lot of cool experiences, and this is a really unique one. The 3rd greatest experience of his life behind his kids being born and playing for Michigan. And it was made even sweeter by the fact that he's gotten to share it with both his kids and the people who've been by his side since his time at Michigan. My younger son, Andre, he already knows who the last two were because he was in the promo. He's known it for 6 weeks. So today after the show, he goes, "I'm so disappointed in you. You let Deb go." I'm like, "Bro, you've known for 6 weeks." Owens explained that Andre is really into the show, that he watches with his girlfriend and her parents every week. If you watch by yourself, you have your own thoughts. But with other people, there will be comments like, "Whoa, what is that? Is your dad really like that? What do you think your dad would do here?" So you're getting more input from people, alluding that his younger son may be more into it because of the communal aspect of watching. Overall, I think they both thoroughly enjoy it. They were in the promo too, so they were on the show. When it comes to his former teammates at Michigan, it seems to be the same story. I've got the greatest friends in the world. They're so supportive, and they're genuinely happy for me. They're there with me on this journey, and it makes me feel great. His childhood in the 1960s Detroit made Mel a music man too. When you're a kid growing up in a house across the way from Diana Ross, it's pretty much inevitable that music will play a sizable role in your life. Mel and his two brothers used to play baseball in their yard. She lived with her mom. That's my recollection. She was a teenager at the time. We'd hit the ball into her yard, and whoever gave up that home run had to go get the ball. Of course, then he was a Diana Ross fan from a young age, and the rest is history. Once we got into it, Mel started listing off dozens of artists from his music library, boasting a massive variety, from Bruce Springsteen to Aretha Franklin, Billy Idol to Ray's, George Michael, Dr. Dre, Chuck Berry, The Clash, and Casey and the Sunshine Band, who he was able to see perform live on the show for a one-on-one date with Peg, one of the women he still has left in the final two. When they gave my phone back and we got on the plane from Antigua going to Miami, I stuck my AirPods in and just pushed play. I didn't choose a song, an artist, or an album. I just pushed play. When I asked him what came on, he told me he didn't even remember, but that it was so good. As an athlete, too, Motown wasn't the only aspect of Detroit's peak that resonated with Owens. His dad was a baseball coach who had actually coached a handful of players who went on to play for the Detroit Tigers. He told me a story when he was about 10 years old at a Tigers game in Detroit. We got to go down to the locker room quite often after the game, and I remember Denny McLain was the last 30-winner game in the major leagues, and I wanted an autograph. My dad goes, "Just go ask him." So he's walking out of the locker room down the tunnel, and I went over and said, "Hey, Mr. McLean, will you sign my program?" And he goes, "No, I'm not going to sign it." Shocked and devastated, he said his dad turned this into a lesson. He came back. I don't know if I was crying or not, but I know I didn't feel good. I told my dad he didn't sign it, and he goes, "When you make it to the pros, make sure you sign them all." And I never forgot that. He explained that when he did make it to the pros, there was a secret tunnel for players to take back to their cars after the game, and he never took that path, instead opting to walk right through the crowd. Now, when I'm doing the Bachelor thing, and they recognize me, ask me for a picture, I always embrace. I was in Joe Louis' restaurant here in Detroit, and I heard a woman go, "Whoa, that's the Golden Bachelor." And I went right over to her. I took a couple of pictures, sat down with the party, took some more pictures, because that's what I should be doing. That's what the Bachelor should be doing, and I enjoy doing it. Because if someone recognizes me, I want to make every effort for them to come over and engage with me. If I can, I will. He reiterated how much it means to him and how much he enjoys engaging with the people who are fans of his, whether it be from his career as an athlete or as the Golden Bachelor. Mel's journey as the Golden Bachelor has been quite a labor of love, and as it coincides with football season, he's had quite a busy autumn. Tune in this evening for the Women Tell All on ABC at 9 p.m. Eastern before he hands out his final rose next week on the season finale of The Golden Bachelor.
Had finally stopped rolling. The last rose had been handed out, the lights dimmed, and the mansion that once echoed with laughter, nervous giggles, and whispered confessions now rested in silence. Mel Owens stood alone on the balcony overlooking a soft California sunset, the air warm and sweet, so different from the crisp Michigan evenings he grew up with. And as the golden light washed over him, Mel felt something stir inside him. Not nostalgia exactly, more like a reminder, a whisper from home. The man behind the roses. To the world, Mel Owens was the charming, sharp-dressed gentleman who would become the golden bachelor sensation. Steady, compassionate, effortlessly romantic. But before all of this, he was just Mel from Muskegon, a boy raised between lake shores and hardwood forests, a man shaped by long winters, fishing trips with his father, Friday night football, and his mother's cinnamon sugar toast on early school mornings. He smiled to himself. Michigan never leaves you, he thought. Even on national television, even when surrounded by glamorous dates and glittering gowns, he felt the quiet grounding of home, like an invisible thread tying him to the person he'd always been. The journey he didn't expect. When producers first approached him about becoming the next Golden Bachelor, he laughed. Me? On TV? At my age? You're exactly the age, they had insisted. But the truth was, he hadn't felt ready. Widowhood had carved a space in his heart that he wasn't sure anyone else could fill. Michigan memories, his first marriage, his kids running around the backyard, holidays around the fireplace, were boxes of his past he kept sealed with care. Yet one evening, while watching the sunset over Lake Michigan, he had whispered, "Maybe I'm allowed a new beginning." And so, with a suitcase, a courage he wasn't sure he fully possessed, and the blessing of his grown children, he boarded a plane to California. The women, the moments, the magic. Mel had expected awkwardness. He had not expected the whirlwind. He remembered them all. The woman who made him laugh until he snorted, the one who taught him salsa and nearly tore his shoulder out, the one who cried when she shared the loss of her husband, and the one who helped him remember how deeply he still could feel. He remembered late-night conversations by the fire pit, hands gently touching, eyes filled with hope. He remembered the first time a woman told him, "Mel, you make me feel seen again." But the moment that stayed with him most was one simple date, a picnic under a tree, no cameras, no glamour, just two people sharing sandwiches and stories. He had talked about Michigan, the cold mornings where fog hugged the lake, the pine needles underfoot in the summer, the thrill of Tigers baseball, and the nostalgia of Motown songs drifting through his childhood home. "That's where your heart is," she had said softly, "and where it's always going to be." The rose ceremony that changed him. Standing in front of the women week after week had been harder than he ever admitted. Choosing one person meant letting another go, and Mel had always been a man who hated causing heartbreak. But that final night, under the twinkling lights and the scent of jasmine, he made a choice that felt both terrifying and profoundly right. And when he offered his final rose, he realized something. He wasn't choosing a replacement for the life he had lost. He was choosing a new chapter, one written with gratitude instead of guilt. Returning home. Now, weeks after the finale, Mel was back in Michigan. The air was brisk, carrying the smell of damp leaves and wood smoke. He walked the familiar path near the dunes, hands shoved into his jacket pockets, thinking about everything he had learned. He realized the journey changed him not by making him someone new, but by helping him rediscover someone he had forgotten. At a quiet overlook above the lake, he took a seat on a weathered bench where he had once watched storms roll in with his late wife. For a long time, he sat in silence. And then, he smiled. Grief and joy, memory and hope, past and future. Somehow, it all fit together now. His phone buzzed, a message from her, the woman who accepted his final rose. "Thinking of you today. Tell me what the lake looks like." He typed back slowly, watching the soft waves curl onto the sand. "It's peaceful, cold, beautiful, like something new is about to begin." A golden future. Mel stood, feeling the wind tug at his jacket. This, he realized, was the gift the journey had given him. Not the show, not the romance, not even the final rose, but the courage to love again without losing the man Michigan raised him to be. He glanced back at the lake one more time. "Thank you," he whispered. To the past, to the journey, to the future. And with that, Mel Owens walked down the dune path, toward home, toward hope, toward whatever golden chapter waited for him next.
The night settled over Lake Michigan like a velvet curtain, dark and soft, stretching endlessly across the horizon. Mel Owens lingered on the boardwalk, listening to waves collapse against the shore. Each crash felt like a memory resurfacing. For the first time since filming Wrapped, he felt fully, completely still. A visit to the past. The next morning, Mel drove to Muskegon Heights in his old silver pickup, a truck so worn the radio only worked if you tapped the dashboard twice and whispered encouragement. He rolled the windows down, inhaling the scent of pine, lake air, and the faint sweetness of nearby bakeries warming up their ovens for the day. He passed the baseball field where he'd coached his son's little league team, the local hardware store that refused to close even as big box stores swallowed the town, and the small diner, Luann's, where he and his late wife had shared Sunday breakfasts for nearly 30 years. He hadn't stepped inside since she passed, but today, something nudged him forward. The bell jingled overhead as he entered. The diner looked exactly the same. Checkered floors, the hum of conversations, the smell of frying bacon and freshly brewed coffee. He chose a corner booth, the same one they always preferred. A waitress noticed him. "Mel! Well, I'll be. We saw you on TV. The whole town was rooting for you." He chuckled bashfully. "I hope I made you all proud." She poured him coffee and patted his shoulder. "You did. And your wife, she'd be smiling big." Her words warmed him, but they also stirred the ache he kept tucked away. As he looked around, memories hit him like soft waves. His wife laughing at a joke he could barely remember, her cold hands tucked into his warm ones on winter mornings, the way she used to whisper, "Always choose joy, Mel." He closed his eyes. Am I choosing joy, he wondered? Or just choosing distraction? A vibration in his pocket pulled him back. Another message from the woman he'd chosen on the show. "Good morning, Michigan man. Did you get your coffee yet?" Mel smiled. He typed back, "At Luann's. Thinking a lot today." Her reply appeared instantly. Thinking is good, but don't stay stuck there. The simple message struck him. Maybe that was why she fit into his life now, because she knew how to meet his grief without trying to erase it. The storm. That evening, a Michigan storm rolled in quick and hard, the sky bruising purple and navy. Thunder cracked over the lake, rain slapped against the windows in angry sheets. Mel sat by the fireplace in his cabin, the fire crackling like an old friend. He poured himself a glass of cherry wine, locally made, tart, and settled into his worn leather chair. His mind drifted to the moments on the show when he felt most alive. The quiet dance under fairy lights, the unscripted laughter during an apple orchard date, the bittersweet tears when he spoke about missing his wife, the feeling of being seen again, not as a widower, not as a father, not as a TV bachelor, but as a man still capable of growing, loving, evolving. But the storm outside mirrored the storm inside. Could he really love again? Could he build something real at this stage of life? What would his wife think? A sudden clap of thunder rattled the cabin, pulling him from his thoughts. The lights flickered, once, twice, then gone entirely. Mel chuckled in the dark. Oh, classic Michigan. He lit a candle and sat on the rug, letting the firelight spill across the room. And then, without warning, tears filled his eyes. Not from sadness, not from longing, but from release. Because for the first time, he felt like he wasn't betraying the past by moving toward the future. He was honoring it. A call that changes everything. Just as the storm quieted, his phone buzzed again. This time a call. Her name glowed on the screen. He answered softly. Hey. Her voice was warm, steady, like a hearth in winter. I could tell through your text today something's weighing on you. Mel didn't hide. I realized today that loving again doesn't mean forgetting. And I think for the first time, I'm ready to live without guilt. There was a pause. Not hesitation, understanding. Mel, your heart is big enough for both, she said gently. He closed his eyes, the wind howled outside. Would you like to come to Michigan, she asked. His breath caught. No cameras, no production crew, no expectations, just real life. Yes, he said. I'd like that very much. Sunrise on the lake. The next morning the storm had passed. The sky glowed pale gold. The lake shimmered as if nothing had happened. Mel walked barefoot through the sand, hands in his pockets, feeling lighter than he had in years. He knew the next chapters would be complicated. Blending families, bridging distances, facing the realities of love after loss. But he also knew something deeper. He was finally ready. Ready to let Michigan remind him where he came from. Ready to let love remind him where he could go next. Ready to write a new story without erasing the old one. He picked up a smooth stone, ran his thumb over its surface, then tossed it into the water. The ripples spread wide, soft, growing, unstoppable. Just like hope, just like love, just like Mel Owens.